opportunity is often difficult to recognize. We usually expect it to beckon us with beepers and billboards. Opportunity do not come with their values stamped upon them. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you, and I, Mangesh Rehi, President TiE Nagpur, welcome you to the first TiEcon at Nagpur. Nagpur, as you are well aware, is a sleeping giant, waiting for its turn to wake up and explode economically. With the recessionary times getting over, and also with the wonderful budget presented by Honorable Finance Minister, wherein spending power would increase at the hands of the consumer, the timing of TiEcon with the exciting theme, encashing opportunities, couldn't have been better. Opportunities are abound in Nagpur. It is maybe a matter of perspective or vision that we Nagpurians are not able to locate the requisite opportunities. Or if opportunities are seen, these are not seized, maybe for want of certain capabilities in the entrepreneur. Hence, the idea behind the theme encashing opportunities is precisely to help us understand as to what should be the roadmap to success, how opportunities are learned, how should we be prepared if an opportunity comes across, what is it that we lack, and what do we need to do about it. These would be shared in success stories in which how the speakers have seized opportunities would be informed, what all they did to become successful, or rather, what all they did to be ready to become successful would be shared. Please take advantage of the event by asking a lot of questions. These wonderful speakers who have come all the way to Nagpur are here to show us a way. They are here to guide us, to give us their wisdom. These people have been breathing entrepreneurship in and out. In addition to the regular speaker sessions, we are also encouraging mentoring sessions. If you are interested, please register at the counter outside. TiEcon is the beginning for your entrepreneurial success. TiEcon is being followed by a 4-day intense workshop on business plan, which will put you on course. This workshop would be spread over next 2 weekends. Details are available at one of the booths outside. I, at the start only, express my deep gratitude to the guest speakers and resource persons who have given their valuable time for entrepreneurial success of Nagpur. It is my pleasure to invite all these guest speakers and resource persons to the first TiEcon of TiE Nagpur. At TiE, we propagate educating, networking, and mentoring. I invite all the delegates to 2 days of educating, networking, and mentoring. And I welcome all of you here and wish you all a very happy TiEcon. Thank you. Kanwal Rehi is a managing partner in Inventors Capital Partners, a Silicon Valley-based cross-border US-India early-stage technology venture fund. Mr. Kanwal co-founded the Indus Entrepreneur in 1992 to promote entrepreneurship among Indians and Indo-Americans around the world. He has actively advised India policymakers in the late 90s, resulting in the privatization of telecom and reforms of venture regulations encouraging fund formation in India. He was the founding limited partner of Infinity Capital India in 2000. Mr. Kanwal has led the first venture round in numerous early-stage companies, holding 23 board positions and actively guiding entrepreneurs to 19 exits, including 6 IPOs. Prior to his venture career, Mr. Kanwal co-founded Excelon in Silicon Valley, the first company to commercialize Ethernet and TCP IP and standardize computer networks. Mr. Kanwal took Excelon public in 1987 and became the first Indo-American founder and CEO to list a venture-backed company on the NASDAQ. Mr. Kanwal was named Entrepreneur of the Year in 1987 by the Arthur Young Venture magazine. He has been a major donor to Michigan Tech, including a gift of $5 million for new computer science facilities. Mr. Kanwal is also involved in increasing the visibility of premier educational institutions in India. He gave $5 million to IIT Bombay, part of which was used to set up a new school of information technology named Kanwal Rehi School of Information Technology, which opened in 1999. I welcome Kanwal to TiEcon Nagpur and request him to come on stage.
How many of you want to be entrepreneurs? Almost everybody. Few of them don't, but almost everybody. How many of you are entrepreneurs right now? But let me ask you, how many of your parents want you to be an entrepreneur? Your parents want you to be an entrepreneur? Beta entrepreneur bano or boche bano? Your parents' message nowadays become responsible, settle down, get married, get a job at multinational. An entrepreneur almost gets no encouragement from anybody. Even in the US, but especially in India, there's a tradition of being stable, responsible, and there's a tough life. And there's not much history of broad entrepreneurship. It just started to happen in India, and so typically you have to have this from inside. Only 1 to 2% of the population at large succeeds as an entrepreneur. Very low odds. Very low odds. 98 to 99% of the people don't succeed as entrepreneurs. So let's use the word 2%, which is the higher number, and that's the number in the US. 2% of the population is entrepreneurial in the US. And in some places it's down to 1%, but let's say it's 2% for India. So how many people will place a bet that your odds are raised to 1 to 50? That's what you have to do, right? That's what you have to do. But the thing is, if you make the decision to become an entrepreneur, leave your job and sustain it for 6 months to a year, your odds improve tenfold. Because 90% of people don't even try. So now you are part of that 2% out of 10% who do try. And how many people will bet? There's a bet which is 1 to 5, and the payoff is 10,000 times your money, and the downside is very limited to 1 or 2 years of your life. So it's a very good bet, but there's this initial hurdle. So the initial hurdle is the hardest one to overcome. It's hard, and it gets harder and harder as you get older. Because you start to get weighted down. You have the wife and the kids and the mortgage, EMIs, I understand the word in India, right? And also, you start to establish your routine, and it's very hard to change routines later in life. So there is this phase in your life, and I will give it a broader definition between age 25 to 35, where you have the best opportunity. 25 is maybe let's say around 30, you have finished your college, you have worked for 6, 7, 8 years, you have become a little bit aware of how the world works, but you're not set in your ways. You're not setting in your ways, and you're still restless, and you're still foolish enough to believe that you can change the world, and you don't know for sure. I mean, as you get older and older, you always say, "Oh, that won't work," and that doesn't make sense. And you're young, says, why not? Let me give it a try. So there's this part, and so who are these 1 to 2% of people who do succeed? It turns out, the entrepreneurial gene, if there is one, is very randomly distributed. It's very randomly distributed. Somehow you don't get it from your parents. The fact that your parents are not in the business doesn't mean anything. And we look at the history of Indian Americans in Silicon Valley, almost nobody's parents are in business. My father was in the army. Sabir Bhatia's father was in the army. Vinod Khosla's father was in the army. And somehow Indian Army seems to be the largest number of entrepreneurs. But you see the bureaucrats also. Almost nobody that I know who succeeded in Silicon Valley, and there are hundreds of them, had the business background. So you can't be saying that we are not Baniyas, we are not Marwadis, we are not Parsis, so we shouldn't even be trying, right? And if you look at the modern entrepreneurship in India, Narayan Murthy's, Nandan Nilakrani, you go down the list, Naresh Doyle, Sunil Mittal, none of them has that the all Indian belief systems. You have to be one of those castes, right? So what happens? How do you start? Where do you start? So entrepreneurial stuff is not an event, where you wake up one day and say, I want to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurial thing is a journey, is a process. Where you say, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to learn everything I need to learn. I need to prepare myself to become an entrepreneur, because there's this thing that I don't know yet that I will have to know. So entrepreneurs by and large are people who are very generalist. They're not specialist. If you become a specialist, if you become a very specialized engineer, you get a good salary, and if your specialty is in favor, if you are able to do web applications, you're hot. The problem is that entrepreneurs have to do everything. They have to learn to sell, they have to learn to market, they have to manage the numbers, the business, and above all, they have to be a leader of people. They have to be able to inspire people. So as an individual, you need to start preparing yourself to become an entrepreneur. And places like TiE, where you go and listen to stories, start to open up your mind and tell you what needs to be done. It takes 3, 4, 5 years. And also, by and large, entrepreneurship is not a single sport, it's a team sport. 2 or 3 or 4 people need to come together, to improve your odds of success. You look at the founders of Infosys, there were 6, 7 of them. You bring together like-minded people, except they have a diverse set of skills, complementary set of skills. It's a very lonely journey. So having partners, makes a big difference, because sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years, before you see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so having a partner, who's sharing the same dream with you, has the same commitment and same passion, really nice to have. So places like TiE, you come and listen to people like me. I heard Sanjeev Bitchandani was here, Saurabh Srivastava was here. You hear their story and then you say, why not me? If he can do it, why not me? And then you have to answer that to yourself. You can say, well, I'm not as good, I'm not as smart, I'm not as, whatever, right? That's fine. That's fine. You're part of the 98%. And you opt out. You opt out. But there's that subset of people, he says, why not me? I'm just as smart as him. I went to IIT, I went to this place, I did that. I worked hard. So that's where it starts. You have to have the inspiration spark, and it typically comes from somebody who looks like you, who sounds like you, who has a similar background, has done it, and then you have to answer to yourself, why not you? And I'll give you a couple of examples of that one. And then afterwards, you start to learn the nuts and bolts, and what it takes to become an entrepreneur. How do you write a business plan? How do you validate your business idea? How do you size up a market? How do you account for numbers? What's the balance sheet? What's the income statement? These are nuts and bolts that you can learn. Either at TiE seminars and all that. And then eventually, if you are lucky enough, you can find a mentor who has been there before, who can start to steady you. It's like when you're learning to ride a bicycle. Somebody's helping you in the beginning, to get the hand of the bicycle. It doesn't take much, maybe a day or two, before you are able to ride the bike on your own. And then, of course, it's the sky's the limit. So when I left India in 1967, it was a different world. If you are less than, if you are not of my age, you cannot even imagine what India was like in the 60s and 70s. The image that we faced when we got to US was third world, snake charmers, bedders, can't even feed themselves until we give them some free food. PL 480, free food in 60s, tapped India, fed, was given to India on a very concessional terms by the US. Very nice feelings towards Indians. Smart people, got their independence through peaceful means, But, they are so diverse. They are so illiterate by and large. 10% of the population at the time of independence was literate. They fight with each other all the time over state boundaries and water, and Indians, Hindus and Muslims will never learn to live with each other. So there was a strong belief, this thing is not our last. And people like us, a nice person, but there was very universal belief in the U.S. that India was a hopeless cause. And there was nothing you could do to refute it. They were not mean-spirited. They were not malicious. They were just stating the facts. There was nothing you could do to refute the arguments they were putting forth. So what's the image now? Smart people, modern, techies, have sustained a democracy over 60 years through really turbulent times, beginning to emerge on the other end as a very powerful, free people. And now nobody talks about snake charmers and bedders as the defining features of India. They see those as the legacy of India, where India is emerging, Indians are emerging, and the first people in the world who have done it within the framework of democracy. Nobody ever has done it within the framework of democracy. Almost everybody gets rich before they become democratic. Almost, even in the US. Even in the US, the blacks didn't get the vote coming into 50s. Women didn't have the vote till the World War I. If you start out, the property owners were the only people who were allowed to vote. So, the US democracy took a long time to perfect. And when you look at the others, Japan became democracy under the US sort of overlordship after the war. Korea, Taiwan, look at that. They had a huge U.S. Influence and presence, and they became rich before they became democratic. So India is the only country which did that, and so there's a new respect, for Indians. That we kept our head down, and we kept working at the problems. There were famines, there were troubles along the way, and there were tribulations. But we are emerging on the other end, as a people. And you know why that happened? Because of companies like Infosys, Wipro, TCS, companies like Bharti. The ultimate respect comes from showing that you can compete in an open market with the best of the best. China does inspire awe in America, but doesn't get the respect. They looked at China and said, we don't know how China will turn out down the road, whether they will turn, because Chinese don't have this bottom-up messy setup that Indians do. But there's almost no doubt in America that Indians will turn out to be a very peaceful and friendly people. Because we are much like them. Democracy with the free market as the defining, overarching, organizing principles. So coming back to my story. So when I arrived in US in 1967, the first week I was there, this professor, very nice professor, called me into his office. He says, I expect you will have trouble keeping up with the class here. Your education is this third world education. We are advanced people, and I don't want you to fall behind. I don't want you to be struggling. And so I will extend to you a courtesy of giving you time anytime you need help. And if you need help, telephone me. And he picks up the telephone and says, this is a telephone. And this is how you use it. And I'm from IIT Bombay, right? And, I don't know what to say. And but that was the patronizing attitude towards us. So about a month into the course, we had what they call shotgun quiz. Shotgun quiz is a surprise test. You walk into the class, people say, put your books aside, you don't have a test today. And so the first shotgun quiz happened about a month into that thing, and I aced it. I finished it in half the time, and I'm sitting there, and professor is shaking his head, that everybody's still struggling, and I finished it, and I'm sitting there in the class, So he told me after the class, he says, I want to tell you that we don't cheat in America. We don't cheat in America, because nobody was supposed to ace that test. And I said, I didn't cheat because we studied all that